In February of 1994, the murder and depraved assaults on a brother-sister pair, John Timothy Edwards and his sister Pam Edwards, shocked the state of Florida. Edwards, a Florida State University student, and his sister, an Eckerd College student, met in Ocala for a camping trip on February 18, 1994. Edwards had driven from Tallahassee while his sister arrived from St. Petersburg at their meetup point, and they both headed to Ocala National Forest. While they were setting up camp in the Hopkins Prairie, the Edwards siblings met a man who stopped by and lent a helping hand to get the siblings settled. The man, who introduced himself as Kevin. However, his real name was Loran Cole. Loran befriended the siblings, and he left the campsite briefly before he returned with another man, William Christopher Paul, and introduced his companion as his brother. Loran and William sat with the Edwards siblings around the campfire until 10:45 p.m., when the four decided to leave and take a walk to the pond to photograph alligators. The four walked for a while but never found the pond. At one point during the walk itself, Cole jumped upon John's 21-year-old sister Pam, handcuffed her, and threw her onto the ground. John retaliated by attacking Paul, but he was overpowered by both Paul and Cole and was thrown onto the ground next to his sister. Paul took John's sister Pam up the path while Cole stayed back with 18-year-old John Edwards. Cole, enraged that John would have attacked him, decided to slash his throat and batter him severely on the head with a nearby rock. As a result of the neck wound and skull fractures he sustained, Edwards died sometime that night. Meanwhile, Edwards' sister was taken back to the campsite by her captors, and Cole threatened to kill her if she did not have sexual intercourse with him. Pam was then assaulted several times by Cole. The next day, Pam was still being assaulted by Cole repeatedly before she was gagged and tied to a tree by both Paul and Cole. They also stole the siblings' jewelry, money, checkbooks, credit cards, and drove away in one John's car. 2 days after the brutal attack, on February 20th, Edwards' sister was able to free herself by chewing through the rope and tried to search for her brother. However, she failed to find him. Pam ran to a roadway and flagged down a motorist who helped get her to a hospital. At first, Pam refused, demanding they go look for her brother John. She was convinced that the police can find him faster than they could, and relented, going to the local police department. The police returned with Pam to the scene, and the police located John's body. The body of John was face down and was covered with pine needles, sand, debris, and small, freshly cut palm fronds. Both of his hands were in an upward fetal position. There was a shoestring ligature around his left wrist, and a shoestring partially wrapped around his right wrist. At the time of his death, Edwards was a chemical engineering major in his first year of college, and his parents, who were in the military, were based in Okinawa, Japan. Edwards' father, Timothy Edwards, also described his son as the best child he could have in the world. After fleeing the scene of their crimes, Paul and Cole went to the mobile home of Mary Gamble, a former one-night stand of Cole's. Mary recalled that Cole and Paul drove a car to her house, and while Cole claimed that it belonged to his new boss, she found a receipt with John Edwards' name on it inside the car. She subsequently put 2 and 2 together when she saw the murder of Edwards hitting the news. Gamble stated that in order to find out the truth, she visited Cole several times that day, and after doing so, she learned from Cole that he raped Edwards' sister and also slit Edwards' throat. On February 20th, 2 days after the attack and the same day Pam spoke with the police, composite sketches of the 2 killers were released to the public, and authorities appealed for witnesses to assist in the investigation. After receiving a tip-off from a man who saw 2 men resembling the police sketches of the suspects in the Ocala area, the police were able to arrest Paul and Cole at Tuscaloosa Trailer Park on February 21, 1994. Both Cole and Paul were each charged with 1 count of murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, 2 counts of armed robbery, and 2 counts of rape. On June 30, 1995, Paul pleaded guilty to 1 count of first-degree murder, 2 armed robbery charges, and 2 kidnapping charges. With his plea of guilt and correspondence between the prosecution and defense, the death penalty was taken off the table in Paul's case, and he was given 5 concurrent life sentences for all the charges for which he was convicted. The family of Edwards accepted this plea deal since it prevented his sister from having to testify in 2 separate trials about how she was assaulted. The prosecution also agreed that Paul did not directly kill Edwards, despite being an accomplice to murder. Paul ended up being a key witness in the trial of Loran Cole. During Paul's sentencing, it was decreed that Paul would not be eligible for parole until he completed a minimum period of 25 years behind bars, based on the plea bargain. As of 2024, Paul remains incarcerated at Cross City Correctional Institution. Cole's trial began on September 26, 1995. Only 3 days later, on September 29, 1995, a 12-member jury found Loran Cole guilty of all 7 charges, mainly 1 count of murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, 2 counts of rape, and 2 counts of armed robbery. The day after Cole's conviction, the same jury unanimously recommended that Cole should be given the death penalty for the murder of John Edwards. On December 21, 1995, Circuit Judge William T. Swigert formally sentenced Cole to death for murdering Edwards. Cole has been incarcerated in the Florida State Prison, otherwise known as Rayford Prison, since 1994. He is finally scheduled to be executed on August 29, 2024, via lethal injection. On July 29, 2024, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed the official death warrant for Cole. After 30 years and an estimated $1.5 to $2.1 million in Florida taxpayer funds, Loran Cole will finally be punished for the evil he brought upon the world.